Hey, beautiful people, and welcome back to Celeb Chats, hosted by yours truly, Shakima. Today, we'll be diving deep into a controversial topic, which is the Tamar Braxtons attempted suicide situation. Stay tuned, beloveds. Hey, beautiful people, it's your Shakima just popping in for today's Celeb Chats. And today, I'm going to speak on a very touchy subject. I want to actually speak about the Tamar Braxton incident because it is very much in alignment with a reading that I did recently for the Chiron retrograde process. So clearly she's already feeling a lot of the Chiron retrograde healing that's taking place, that is trying to help her make better business decisions. From what I can see based on the information that's been given in the press so far, it has sort of seemed a lot like, a lot of the healing process that's been taking place for her feels a lot like it's happening to her. And I can relate as a fellow Piscean myself. I've been in her shoes. I've found myself in her situations time and time again. But there's a video that I actually did talking about suicide and the fact that it's actually an ego death that's taking place, and in most cases people actually take the vessel with them as the ego is dying. So I'm going to link that video somewhere up here, and I'm also going to link it down below in the description just to give a little bit more context so that people can really understand what's taking place psychologically as well as what's going on spiritually, because it's a spiritual warfare that's actually materializing mentally, and as they're going through the spiritual warfare, it's actually manifesting as psychological warfare as well. And I think a lot of the times when we're navigating through these things, it very much, the way that the ego will tell the story, it's that it's kind of happening to them, and they're a victim of the decisions that they've made that led them to the place that they are within the journey. And I just want to put this out there just in case I seem insensitive to a lot of people, because the way that you guys really have to understand that as a spiritual consciousness coach, the way that I look at things is generally from a place of transcended perspective. So I'm always looking at potentially what the universe is sort of asking for us, what God is trying to help us to heal, and really not necessarily the way that the human experience is looking at things. So a lot of the times the things that I say may offend quite a few people simply because they may sort of find themselves living in their ego about the situation, and they may perhaps click on these videos expecting for me to say something really quite ignorant. And unfortunately, I don't, with a platform that I'm trying to grow and build, I don't have the luxury of being ignorant in this space. I have to keep it in the vibration of universal truth, because I've seen, even with the last celebs chat that I spoke about of Jada and Will's situation, there was a lot of people making a lot of jokes about the situation. I'm always just going to keep it true and tell you guys how it is. With this particular situation, it just shows me that Tamar is directly in alignment with what the Chiron retrograde is doing for her healing. And again, I am going to link a video to that, a card up here, so that you guys can check that out. I'll be able to get that video up for you guys a little bit later on, because I need to be able to do the timestamp so that you guys can really dive deep into what your particular guidance is for yourself. But generally speaking, this Chiron retrograde is really going to be helping my fellow Piscean like Tamar heal a lot of the business decisions that she may have made that isn't necessarily going to be supporting her long term, or it's not going to be supporting her character long term. And I think that that's probably one of the things that she's really been navigating her way through, sadly. I just want to read a little bit of a article from page 6 about this particular situation, just so that we have some context about what's kind of taking place during Tamar's transit for this Chiron retrograde. Weeks before Tamar Braxton's apparent attempt to take her own life, the singer-turned-reality star sent an excoriating email to her network's bosses, accusing them of destroying her family and making her suicidal. Okay, and that's something that, again, when we are in these positions, it's easy for us to basically say, you made me feel this, but the reality is that's not entirely true. That's only a half-truth of the perspective. The reality, even reading that before, and again, I just want to let you guys know, I just call things the way that they are. It's not just about me taking any particular side. I'm on God's side, which is basically trying to help you guys become better people, better human beings. Learning how to become a little bit more perfect in God's image. What I'm seeing here is that this is a family that clearly had a lot of underlying issues. And if you've ever watched their show, Braxton Family Values, you can see that naturally they actually had a lot of family issues that they buried. A lot of things that they didn't discuss, a lot of issues that they didn't necessarily speak about. I think if you even take it back to when Tamar went on L.I.F E, and she, it came to surface that she was actually molested by, I think it was a family member or somebody that was close to the family. It just lets you know how deep their family issues go. And instead of us being able to say, do you know what, this is what you did to me, or maybe she feels like her family's a little bit more fragile and it's easier for her to project accountability towards the network. And I'm not saying that the network doesn't have any accountability in the situation. I'm just saying that she needs to go deeper than that, because what's going on with the network is just bringing the issues that her family has to the surface so that they can all take an opportunity to have those necessary conversations to break down the layers of the healing that needs to take place. And I think that it's sad that it's kind of being reflected in a way where it's like, you are responsible for the fact that my family is the way that they are. And that's not entirely true, because the family clearly had a lot of underlying issues long before they were even on TV. Even thinking about the fact that Tony was the one that got the big break in comparison to all the others that clearly had singing voices as well. Tamar didn't get her start in her music career until later on in life, because she was busy doing backup for her sister Tony, as were the others as well. And I think a lot of the other sisters are still doing backup for Tony, if I'm not mistaken, even though they may have at alternative times tried to get their careers off the ground. It just didn't necessarily take off, because there's a lot of deep wounded issues that aren't necessarily being addressed or taking into consideration as they're navigating through this. So the article continues to read, at the height of the unrest over the killing of George Floyd, WeTV execs sent an email to employees, including Braxton and her family, who have appeared on the network's reality shows for more than a decade, outlining the company's effort to support the Black community. Braxton, who's in a stable condition after apparently attempting suicide on Thursday night. And it's interesting because Thursday is the day of Jupiter. So just thinking that Jupiter is really actually helping her to expand upon her blessings. I do believe that this is going to actually be a great situation for her once she can turn this around. I think she's just in the process of her testimony being written at the minute, and it may feel very detrimental to her ego as she's navigating through this. But she responded with a message seen by page 6 explaining that her family is in disarray. Her family was always in disarray. This is just something that is supposed to help them to be able to come closer together. That is supposed to help them to become united in their strife of becoming as they appear to be, because they say that they're close, but the reality is they're all very much individual people having individual experiences, trying to create in this family dynamic together. And a lot of the times there's a lot of judgment, and other times there is like, no, you don't get the opportunity to feel how you feel, you have to feel how the family feels. And there's a lot of that distortion that was already taking place. I want to make this clear, this was already taking place before what transpired with the network execs. What's going on with the network's execs in aid of the Chiron retrograde transit that is taking place in Aries in collective consciousness's first house, particularly Tamar's second house as a Piscean. It's helping her to be able to rectify a lot of the damage that happened within her childhood experiences that is impacting her business circumstances as she attempts to move forward in life. But the article continues to read, we fight with each other, we betray each other, and now we're physically assaulting each other. All happening because your show. Not entirely true. That is a false narrative. It's easy, again, for us to blame other people because we love our friends and our family so much that we clearly put on these goggles, we clearly put on these filters so that we can feel better about our engagement with these people, because we don't want to then kind of push them while they're down or kick them even whilst they're already down and tell them the truth about our experiences of them. But the reality is her family was always in disarray. Her mom and dad were always having a very complicated relationship. Dad was always being emasculated in a lot of different ways by mom. Mom was always very heavy with the masculine energy, and mom was learning how to feminize her energy in a lot of different ways, which is clearly why a lot of the sisters are very aggressive in the way that they are, because they clearly have an imbalance in their masculine energy, and they kind of need to learn how to feminize the masculinity as well, so that they can really become a little bit more closer together in the way that they would like to be. The issue is that they already had these issues. They already had these these behavioral traits and mannerisms that was really affecting the family dynamic. And now that's just coming to surface because, as it says here, they've been on the show for a decade, so they're learning how to complete the cycle of doing the same old shit that they were doing at the start of when they got the opportunity to be on reality TV, and 10 years later still doing the same thing, just allowing for it to grow, to evolve and expand in itself. That's what's really sort of Spirit's asking them to take a deep look at themselves in the mirror and say, what do we need to change as individuals here? Because a lot of the time what I find with reality stars is that they blame the execs and the producers for the way that things are edited, but they can't edit something that didn't occur. And if you guys were in a position where you guys were really truly the kind of loving family that you want to be able to project out into the universe and give the world this example of, it would be easy for them to find that kind of footage because that is the vibration that they would be living in. But that's not entirely the truth. That's not entirely the reality. And there's a lot of distortion taking place with all of their inner children. Tamar she shows up a lot of the times with narcissistic traits and behavior. I wouldn't call her a full-blown narcissist, but she has very, very high narcissistic traits. And that has a lot to do with her childhood, bearing in mind that she was one of the last girls in that family to be born. And you know, going through what she went through with the molestation as a child, it can really create this victim perspective that people navigate through or from in their adult years. And I think that the universe is giving her an opportunity to learn how to become her own victor, because nothing is ever happening to us, it's always happening for us. And as somebody who's been through my own fair share of a lot of the things that Tamar's been through, I'll probably do a video on that, doing a story time another time. But these things, we actually create these things somewhere within our psyche anyway, so she has to go deeper within herself to understand how she created all of these experiences, because it's something that is taking place psychologically. And I know that we're taught that, you know, thoughts actually manifest feelings, but feelings come before thought, guys. If you think about it, you have to feel depressed to have depressive thoughts. And she felt depressed by the circumstances that were taking place in her work situation for her to even get to that place where she was having suicidal thoughts. But to continue to read the article, Tamar says, it's all happening because of your show, Braxton Family Values has chosen to show the absolute worst side of a strong, independent and successful African-American family. A show that I created to showcase a strong black family as a beacon of hope for all the young black girls and boys out there. Instead, you coached and cajoled us into finding the worst in each other's. Not necessarily true. I'm not saying that these execs didn't, you know, highlight certain shadows that every single one of them had, but they have to remember these things existed long before the exec said, there you go, look at Tawanda doing this. There you go, look at Tony doing that. This already existed within the family dynamic. So if she really wanted to be able to be this strong, independent black family that she wanted to show the world, they have to actually be on that vibration. You can't claim to be something that you're not, because the universe is always going to lift the mask and show your true colors. And that's what's taking place, beloveds. I just really want to put that across. I'm not being insensitive to what's going on. I just want to be completely honest, because I find this a lot where people blame other people for the things that already existed, because they don't want to, basically because their love for other people is creating these filters that they're engaging with these people from. They don't want to accept the truth of the situation. The article continues to read, likening the network to cruel white slave masters who once chained our forefathers and the oppressive police forces that now terrorize our communities, she added, I hope those ratings were worth it because you succeeded in destroying a great black family. I just want to put something out there, because I feel like this continued segregation, because I know that a lot of us, you know, we want to get to this place where we're unified in love. But in order to do that, we actually have to be able to stop seeing color. I myself personally don't consider myself to be a black woman. And I know I'll probably get a lot of slack for this, but the reality is we all have melanin. This is just a miseducation of mankind. And it's kind of like when people were saying that Barack Obama was the first ever black president. I mean, he was the first black president of our lifetime, yes. But the first president that actually was in the White House was a black man. And a lot of the times we have very limited information because we stick to the education that we have been given by our quote unquote oppressors, instead of doing our own research, and then we blame them for the information that they give us because we don't want to go deeper and have a deeper understanding of the context. The truth is that black people enslaved quote unquote black black people long before the reality that we're engaging in right now. If you even go back to biblical context and look at the Israelites and the pharaohs, understanding that, you know, quote unquote black people were some of the first people, you would understand the context that we've been enslaving each other long before the quote unquote white people actually started to enslave us. And I prefer using the word Caucasian because it was a series of evolution that took place. The melanated man, the black man, went to into the evolution of the Asian man, and then went into the evolution of the Caucasian man. So I prefer utilizing that context, but we just really have to be educating ourselves here, because we have very limited education based on the things that they have given to us, and we blame them for that, but we don't necessarily take the time to empower ourselves by finding out more information. We just expect them again to teach us more because we don't want to necessarily dive deep and do the work for ourselves. And I want to just encourage us to maybe dive a little bit deeper and really gain some understanding, some understanding even of the context of what we're expecting these people to do, understanding that we are at odds. We're at odds. If we want the information, we have to go seeking it for ourselves, guys. Meanwhile, she said that the final stake into the heart of her family was the day you dug up a secret I'd never shared with anyone, a secret I was so ashamed to talk about that I hid it even from my own mum. The fact that I had been assaulted and raped repeatedly from age 6 to 16, sometimes multiple times a day. Braxton said that producers had exposed it on your show in front of my entire family and 100 crew members. She added, you broke me that day, and I considered ending my own life then for the shame I felt. And I want to put this across as somebody that was also molested, that was assaulted from the age. I was assaulted by a few different people, to be fair, family members, friends of friends. It was just something that was attached to my lineage. And if you understand the context of slavery that took place during this the black and white situation that we're sort of living in, where a lot of the black women were actually raped by their slave owners. This is something that is deep rooted in our DNA. It's deep rooted in our ancestry, and a lot of the times where it hasn't necessarily been dealt with, where it hasn't been healed, where it hasn't been transmuted within our DNA, it will show up later down the line in other generations for it to get an opportunity to be healed. And the universe is actually giving her an opportunity to be healed. And one of the things that happens a lot of the times to rape victims is that they blame themselves, and they do feel a lot of shame, and they do feel a lot of embarrassment around the experiences that they have when they are navigating through the activation of their ancestral wounds. And because that's the way that I see it, it was an activation of my ancestral wound. I actually saw once I was actually able to heal myself from that situation, I was able to connect to the DNA that was in my cells of the ancestor that was being taken over on the slave ships. And I literally had this whole thing where I was hyperventilating because I became very claustrophobic. I could feel the weight of other people on top of my body compressing my chest. I could feel the shackles on my hands and feet. I could smell the shit all around me. I could smell the urine all around me. I could just feel myself literally lost in between, and there was death everywhere. There was just death everywhere around me, because that is within my DNA, much like it's in every quote-unquote black person's DNA. Our body, our cells remember these experiences. They in fact never forget them. It's just that they're taking place subconsciously, but you have to learn how to engage in your subconscious mind and navigate through the neurological pathways of your subconscious mind to get the kind of imagery that I experience. I've learned over the years how to navigate through my subconscious mind to even be able to engage in that way. But what's taking place for Tamar is actually giving her an opportunity to heal her family trauma, to heal her family wounds. And if you bear in mind, Pisces is the final sign of the zodiac, which is all about endings and completing cycles. I told you guys, I myself is a Piscean. I'm an Aquarius Piscean cusp, which the Aquarius aspect of myself allows for me to be intellectual enough to be able to understand a lot of the things that I've been able to learn over the years. But I really do believe that there is a soul within her vessel that chose this experience because she knew that she was capable of it. There's so many things that has happened to this beautiful soul, and she's still here, she's still living, she's still thriving. She may be going through a downtime right now, and with that I want to ask you guys to just pray for her. Pray for her soul. Pray for her soul to remember, and I'm getting emotional because I can just feel the power of this. Pray for her soul to remember who she is and remember the reason why she chose this experience, to be able to help her lineage break free from the shackles of the past ancestry karmic baggage that they've been carrying for a very significant period of time. Pray that she is able to call upon the strength of God when she may feel weak. Pray that she may be able to call upon the strength of God when she may be navigating through the darkest nights of her soul within the psyche of her mind. And just pray that she's able to feel God's presence over her life as she navigates through this process, guys, because it's going to be quite the trip for her to navigate through. I'm not going to lie. I'm just going to close out the rest of the article, because before I even read this far down, I literally didn't even know the details of the context of this article, but this is the article that Spirit chose for me to come into this space and speak on this situation. And it's interesting to see that that is what came out at the end of this, because I already highlighted that a while ago. I already highlighted that these were issues that were taking place deep within her long before the execs brought this to surface. And really what she's navigating through is her shame, feeling that she was wrong for being in a position of being molested, and it was never her fault. It was simply something that had to come to surface so that she can help the lineage heal. Okay. Closing out the article, she ended the email. I have news for you. Today, I take my power back. I will no longer tolerate being oppressed. I am asking you to break the chains now and let me go. I'm suffocating. I can't breathe. I literally just utilized the same words as I was speaking about what was taking place on the slave ships, bringing us over from our native lands into the Western civilization. So this is her ancestors' DNA calling out, saying to her, she is feeling oppressed. She is feeling suffocated. She is feeling like she cannot breathe by the experience of the journey that is taking place. Okay, this is so much deeper than we even understand, guys. This is so much deeper than our minds can even fathom. But our DNA never forgets. It's just our conscious mind simply seeks to archive traumatic experiences so that we forget them. But we never forget. They're simply buried in Pandora's box, and they will come to surface with the retrograde alignments that is helping us to heal. Okay. She goes on to say, the article goes on to say, when we put it to WeTV that its behavior had made Braxton suicidal, a rep told us only. We are keeping her and her family in our thoughts and prayers and joining with her fans, sending strength and healing at this difficult time. I agree. I don't think that there's anything else for them to say, because technically they're being given 80% of accountability, which is really only 25% of accountability, which is rightfully theirs to accept. They didn't make Tamar suicidal. They simply triggered her suicidal tendencies to come to surface because she was already suicidal from the things that she was experiencing as a child. I'm sure when she was navigating through that between the age of 6 to 16, she already felt like she wanted to take her own life so that the molestation, the assault could stop. Because she mentioned even at some point that there were times that it was almost every day that she was experiencing this. So this is deeper than that. Okay. The article sort of concludes, a family insider told us that Braxton was unhappy that the network had selected Love and Hip Hop producer Mona Scott Young to produce Braxton's new show. Tamar Braxton, Get Your Life. So Tamar felt ambushed, said an insider. She was invited to the network to have a meeting to talk about the show and the premise of the show. And right there, sitting down is Mona. The person she said she did not want to work with. When we put it to Scott Young that Braxton's family members felt that her work on the show contributed to Braxton's unhappiness in the weeks before her suicide, she responded, my thoughts and prayers are with Tamar and her family during this very difficult time. Reps for Tamar didn't comment. I just really want to put this out there. I'm not being insensitive to the fact that she's just tried to take her own life. The reality is that this was something that existed in Tamar long before now. And if we're thinking about Tamar's, in her early to mid 30s, this is like a 20-year-old wound, maybe even a 30-odd-year-old wound that she needs to be able to heal from, and the universe is giving her an opportunity to be healed from it. The universe is giving her an opportunity to be blessed by the experiences that she's navigating through. So all that we can do right now is send love and positive intentions her way as she navigates through everything that is coming to surface to be healed and transmuted. Okay, beloveds? On that note, I am going to love you guys and leave it there for you guys. Definitely be sure to comment down below and let me know what you think of this. Positive and negatives are always welcome. I mean, I like to educate, so if you have something negative to say, if you're trolling, I'd like to help you raise your vibration by giving you a new perspective and insight. If you have something positive to say on this, I'd be open and happy to, have a look and just reflect each other at the end of the day. As per usual, all I want to let you guys know is the best is yet to come. Okay, it's not over until it is truly over. And even when we lose touch with our physical vessel, our spirit reigns in the afterlife. Okay, on that note, I just want to let you guys know, if you like my vibe and you want to be a part of the tribe, subscribe, because I'd love to have you guys, and we can just continue to grow and build this family of conscious beings trying our best to navigate this 3D reality as effectively as we possibly can. On that note, I'm going to love you guys and leave it there for you guys. Namaste and God bless. Take care, guys. I'll see you in the next video. That's all, folks. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe and hit the bell for more.